I think I'm not a fan of in terms of winning championships. I don't think that style is ever going to win championships. But at the same time, you have to keep your team's head above water to win games. So you have to do what you have to do to win games, and he's doing that, right? Now, I think...
So are you saying you don't think James Harden and the Rockets, as constructed, can win a title?
Not with this style of play, it won't win, right? With one player dominating the ball. Now when you have Chris Paul come back and you have more movement to the offense, where you move guys around, where you're harder to find.
And Chris Paul's back, but you mean more in the...
Yeah, because listen, if you take one player, you put him at the top of the key, or you put him on the wing, and you're running screen rolls, you're always in front of the defense. The defense can key on that, particularly in the playoffs. And that's easy to defend.
Yeah.
It's easy to defend. Now, what he's doing is absolutely remarkable, though. And I think...
I remember I used this clip in a video in 2021. And when I watch Luka and the Mavericks right now, it's truly all I can think about. Kobe was talking about James Harden during that crazy 30-point for 30 game streak he had in 2019. And like Luka and Dallas now, the Rockets' success was way too dependent on his heroics. Now, the Dallas Mavericks actually made the Western Conference Finals last year, and a lot of that is because they got ridiculously hot at literally the perfect time. In games 5 and 6 versus Phoenix, Dallas shot a total of almost 83 pointers and damn near made half of them. You're going to win most games shooting like that. Even against Golden State, they didn't really cool down too much. 3 players in their starting lineup shot 40% from deep. They just let Golden State damn near shoot 50-40 splits, which obviously won't work in the playoffs. But this year they came back. Didn't really make enough moves. If you ask me, they brought in Christian Wood, but they did lose Jalen Brunson. And you can still see there's a clear ceiling with how one-dimensional they play. And Jason Kidd knows it. Luka Doncic, since he entered the league, has the highest usage percentage of anybody in that span. This year he's second. Not only that, Luka Doncic almost has a 50% assist percentage. Not only that, the Dallas Mavericks are averaging just under 112 points a game. Luka is responsible for more than half of those. If you look at Dallas's assist percentage on 3-pointers attempted, look at everybody else and then look at Luka. 12% of his threes are assisted on, meaning he's creating a lot for himself. That's way lower than Trae Young, way lower than Jason Tatum, Stephen Curry, just for comparison's sake. If you look at 2017 James Harden, it's way lower than that. If you look at 2019 James Harden, it's still lower than that. This Dallas team is just way too Luka predicated. When you look at the player leading the league in field goal attempts, it's Luka. When you look at the player leading the league in pull-ups, it's Luka. When you look at the player leading the league in field goal attempts with 7+ dribbles, and you can say that's to his demise and that's his fault, it's Luka. When you look at the player leading the league in isolation field goals, it's Luka. The Mavericks this year, they're near the bottom in passes made, near the bottom in team assists. They're at the bottom in 2-point field goal attempts per game, meaning they're waiting around for threes way too much. They're near the top in 3-point attempts. It is insane for Luka to be averaging damn near double the 2-point field goal attempts than his next best teammate. That means nobody's really attacking the basket. It's great to appreciate an all-time great player and look at his heroics and appreciate it. I mean, it's great. I do too. But when you look at their on and off the court with Luka, they're second best with him on the court, the worst with him off the court. It's just not sustainable, bro. Like, they're never going to win with how they're built. They're just not. The Chicago Bulls have turned into like an absolute disaster. And to me, it really all started with the Lonzo Ball injury. Last year, in the little stint he played, which was only 35 games, Lonzo was shooting 42% from deep on 7 attempts. Remember, that's huge for a team that literally doesn't shoot threes like Chicago. And since he's been out, they feel like an outdated team. The Nikola Vucevic trade looked good on paper at the time. I was even excited for it back then, but it's looking pretty silly now. Wendell Carter Jr. is younger. He pretty much gives you identical production offensively, and he's a significantly better defender. And now Chicago, without Lonzo, who's looking like the glue to all of this, they're stuck with a team with really no outside perimeter shooting outside of Levine, and he's been off this year. The Bulls right now are dead last in 3-point attempts. Actually, they're the only team not even shooting 30, and we know DeMar DeRozan's style is a big reason for that. Well, also, they're not defending the 3-point line well enough to make up for them not shooting 3-pointers themselves. Like I said in my last video, and I can't believe I'm referring to the Lakers, it's actually new days for real. The Lakers, they don't shoot the three-point ball that well, but they defend it extremely well for the most part. Chicago really doesn't do either, which is a recipe for a below 500 record even with the names they have. And also, and why I said this team feels so outdated, they don't really shoot threes that much, but the most low percentage, low attempted shot in the league, a long two, they shoot the most of. And again, we know why. So when you really look at where their money is tied to, it looks like a big disaster. DeMar DeRozan, who plays like an early 2000 style, which can still be effective, but you have to surround him with some shooters. Zach LaVine, who seems like he's kind of peaked, and Lonzo Ball, who I don't even know if he's ever going to play for the Bulls again, like dead ass. The Cleveland Cavaliers, my new favorite team to watch, they really made the trade of the summer. Donovan Mitchell has really been a godsend for that team, and truly vice versa. The Cavaliers, at the time of me recording this video, they're only one of two teams that's top 10 offensively and defensively. Donovan is having a career year all across the board, and with the consistent pressure he and Darius both puts on defenses, the numbers really show their impact. If you look at points per game in the pick and roll this year, which they run a lot, Cleveland is first. If you look at the screeners points per game off the pick and roll, there's only two players on the same team in the top 10. Guess who? Also, I love how their defense actually feeds off their offense. Cleveland really isn't a fast break transition based team, meaning they score a lot of their points in half court sets. They actually play at the slowest pace in the league, which to me could be a good thing because that's typically the style of the playoffs anyway. Now, on the contrary, with them running their offense with a lot of half court sets with the pace they play at, they force you to run your offense in half court sets, which is extremely hard. Most teams can't consistently run their offense with two playmakers that can create for themselves and others and shoot anywhere on the court, and run a pick and roll with two bigs that can get easy bread and butter baskets efficiently. Most teams can't do that. This year, Cleveland is giving up the least amount of points per game, they're guarding the three-point line at an above average clip, and they're giving up some of the least amount of points per game in the paint for obvious reasons. Last year, they tried to run a similar style, but their offense was ranked 20th, so they really couldn't take advantage of their half-court defense. This year, again with Donovan Mitchell, they can, and they have. The Warriors' roster really isn't as deep as I thought it was going into the season. I said it before, and maybe I was just tripping, but I had this whole thought process of the Warriors have this new perfect mix of young draft picks for the future that they're growing and developing and all that, and the championship win now stars. That's unheard of. And now, when I really look at it, it's probably a reason why you really haven't seen that. Most dynasties, historically, are typically focused in one direction, not really trying to blend both. The 2014 Spurs was one of the oldest teams in the NBA. The 2010 Lakers, they were also one of the oldest teams in the NBA. The 2013 Heat were one of the oldest teams in the NBA. The 1998 Bulls were the oldest team in the NBA. It's extremely rare to plug multiple, not just one piece like the 2014 Kawhi Spurs and all them, multiple young pieces into a team with expectations to win it all. Golden State has turned it around for the most part, winning 10 out of their last 16 games. But most of that has been because of their big five, big six, especially Klay shooting a whole lot better. But when you look at the rest of their roster, it does feel like they have a lot of dead spots. DiVincenzo, who I was excited about, he's been a bit of a disappointment this year. Kuminga, my favorite player out of their young pieces, he's had his moments, but it still feels like Steve Kerr doesn't quite trust him. James Wiseman, he struggled immensely within their system. Moses Moody doesn't really play, and Andre Iguodala, he's like the new Haslam. So it feels like their roster is pretty thin. Stephen Curry, who's having a career year all across the board, all that, he's playing the most minutes he has in damn near a decade. Their bench, who's extremely young, still leads the league in turnovers. So their overall depth is just not quite how I expected. Maybe it was just me. The New Orleans Pelicans are the scary team that I believe they would be before the season even started. In my bold predictions video, I said I think they will make the Western Conference Finals healthy, and I'm loving how that's going so far. I said if Willie Green can get this team to buy in defensively with the skilled players they already have on the offensive side, you can't tell me this team won't be a problem. The reason I really love this team is because they're so versatile. Herbert Jones is one of the most long, versatile defenders we have in this league, and he takes a lot of pressure off of Brandon Ingram and Zion. Jose Alvarado can literally put pressure on any ball handler in this league and harass them, as we seen him do against Chris Paul last year in the playoffs, and he's shooting almost 40% from deep this year. Trey Murphy, one of my favorite picks of that entire 21 draft, he's come back a much better ball handler, which has made him a better scorer. He's always been able to stretch the floor. He did that at Virginia. And he's 6'9" with a 7-foot wingspan, so defensively, his ceiling has always been through the roof. Brandon Ingram, he's always been one of the best 3-level scorers we have in this league. And with the help he has now, with Zion Williamson creating defensive breakdowns and the attention he gets, CJ McCollum doing the same even though he's struggling, he's damn near shooting 48% from deep. And Zion Williamson, oh, he's just the only player averaging 24 points or more on 60% from the field. The only player. I told you the Cavs were only one of two teams that's top 10 offensively and defensively. Well, the other team is the other team that's also first in their conference, the Pelicans. They're also one of the only teams that's top 10 in points, assists, rebounds, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, steals, offensive rating, defensive rating. They have almost 8 players averaging double digits a night. Like, Willie Green has this team balling, and if it were my vote right now, he would be my coach of the year. And lastly, the Miami Heat. Some of their moves, or lack thereof, is really whipping their asses right now. It's true. Sometimes success can really be a bad thing because it leads to complacency. Okay, we get it. They're a great organization. They had a lot of success within these last 3 years. They made 2 Eastern Conference Finals, NBA Finals in which they were 2 games away. They've literally had the exact same results in these last 3 years as the Celtics. We get it. But sometimes I feel like Pat Riley buys way too much into culture as opposed to talent. And you need both, but mainly talent. This team has some of the worst contracts in the sport. Duncan Robinson, okay, we get it. He had a good bubble run, had 2 real solid years, but they're paying him like he made an all-star team. Kyle Lowry, I have a lot of respect for him, NBA champion, but he's 36 years old. And I know he's been the Iron Man playing all the games, but he shot under 40% 13 times out of the 25 games this year. That's terrible. I love Jimmy Butler, and I feel like he's one of the more underrated superstars we have in this league. But you're paying him a lot of money within these next few years, a contract that didn't even start yet, and he's on a team that really can't win. He's 33 years old, and again, I respect the developing culture and all that, but he's playing with 3 players that are undrafted that plays heavy minutes: Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, and Caleb Martin. That's not beating Giannis and the Celtics, and it's just not winning. I wouldn't go as far as what Charles Barkley just said, blow it up, because I still think Jimmy Butler can be a foundational piece to a championship team. But he has to have better running mates than Kyle Lowry, who's 36, Bam, who can disappear often offensively, especially in the playoffs, and Tyler Hero, who I like, but it's not enough. If you guys like this video, don't just leave the video. Drop a like. Comment again some of your favorite takeaways, some stuff you've learned, some stuff that surprised you. Do all that stuff in the comment section. I read all of it. Make sure you guys follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.